So we arrive at the house on Berkeley Street. The music from an approaching ice cream truck competes with the melodies of a mariachi band playing nearby, as the woman in the house next door offers us some freshly baked Mexican sweetbread. I don't remember there being a fence the last time I was here, but that was 25 years ago, when a newlywed couple showed up at these doorsteps with all their possessions in hand and a belly bursting with new life. The Uruguayan preacher who lived there at the time had heard about the Brazilian couple and believed that perhaps they could together bring God's kingdom to these Santa Ana streets. The preacher took them in and gave them the room on the right. 1 month later, that young woman was in that very same room, gripping her husband's hand, waiting for the midwife to arrive. All they had in this world was contained within those four walls, within that room that was not even their own. Later that week, the husband, my father, was at the midwife's home with a paintbrush in hand. This was my bartered birth. They named me Paul, my father's name, not because I was to carry on some legacy of wealth and prestige, but rather because my name, or the name printed on my social security card, would allow my dad to work in a country that no longer desired his presence. My parents wanted to be here legally, but their process was stuck in the immigration pipeline for years and years. Later, Proposition 187 made me realize that Californian voters didn't want my presence either, or at least they didn't want me in their public schools. But I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's return now to that house on Berkeley Street, where a few blocks away on Washington and Flower, there's another house where drug deals would happen by day, and in the apartments next door, that's where we lived. I remember my mom having to respond to a chorus of "Mamay, mamay, mamay," but not only from her two children, but from all the other kids she had to take care of every day. Or of the neighbors, every single one of them having thieves go into their home in broad daylight, but no one ever came into ours. My mom says it was angels who protected us. In fact, angels have played a pretty important role in my life. Growing up without health insurance, or any type of insurance for that matter, we had to put our trust in higher powers. Or growing up without any savings and watching my dad get kicked out of the church that he had helped found 14 years before, with that Uruguayan preacher from Berkeley Street. His legal status wouldn't allow him to apply for unemployment, so he relied on angels to slip mysterious money into his praying palms. After people talk about how they sometimes had to dip into their savings, I asked my dad about this savings thing. Why didn't you ever save? Why wouldn't that have been wise? And what he told me, he said, when you're surrounded by so much need, when those who are closest to you are depriving themselves of food to send money back home, you simply have to give. And that's when it struck me that my dad, my mom, they too have been angels to so many, and answered prayer in time of need. And maybe that's why Virginia, one of our more regular angels, continues to shower us with random checks in the mail that seems to arrive right before we have to pay the bill. I'm just gonna get to the good part. So yeah, it goes on. Like, my parents just did a lot of nice things for people. I don't know, but like, then bad things would happen. People would steal stuff from like us. And but none of these experiences deterred them from giving more, for they seem to believe that this radical, selfless giving infuses love into a world that is so desperately in need of it. And this love, it can move mountains or melt a heart of stone, or maybe even a heart of ice. ICE, aka the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Oh God, how I wish there were angels in that department. But I really don't think there are. You see, because it took 22 years for this government to finally give my parents the green light or the green card for them to say, okay, you can stay. 22 years of being undocumented, illegal, law-breaking aliens, of being a prisoner in this country, of approaching any government checkpoint with fear of being deported. It's not right that my childhood companion had to lie about his citizenship status in order to attend an Ivy League school, and yet after graduating he still can't get a driver's license. Or that my best friend had to forge a marriage to become legal, and yet that marriage failed. And while I recognize that this country has failed in so many ways, I cannot bring myself to hold on to this anger, to hold on to this grudge. Instead, when I reflect on my life in America, I am filled with gratitude. I am thankful for the Uruguayan preacher and the Mexican sweetbread and the angels, most of them Americans. And for living in a country where a child born in a house on Berkeley Street to penniless parents could find himself standing before a cool group of people sitting on couches under a tent and share a piece of his life with you. Really quick, I have this experimental song that takes 2 minutes. Can I try it? Okay, so I was walking down the street a few months ago, and I was thinking about some friends of mine who their parents were deported, and some other friends who were detained in immigration centers and stuff. And it just sucks when you think man, I know this person and their parents aren't here anymore. So I kind of a little outraged. I wrote this kind of a song, but okay. So I just need you guys to clap at this speed. Okay. So this might be an epic failure. I'm just gonna try it out because I want to try it. And it's in Spanish. Yeah. All right. La migra está pasando por nosotros, la injusticia nos quiere separar, no les importa que somos una familia, vienen para destruir nuestro hogar. El gobierno quiere que regresamos a una tierra que jamás conocemos, no les importa que también contribuimos a esta nación de desagradecidos.